Keeping your business in business during COVID-19. Access to capital, am I eligible? That is the title of this workshop. So if you're in agreement, you're in the right place. We are the Minority Business Assistance Center at the Urban League of Greater Cleveland. We are part of the Ohio Development Services Agency. Just for those who don't know what the Minority Business Assistance Center is, I just want to give you a quick high-level overview so that you know what some of the resources are available to you here in our community. We have a team of business advisors that work one-on-one with our clients. We provide one-on-one counseling assistance to businesses across the region. We have 8 counties that we focus on. We are one of 7 centers across the state of Ohio. And I always like to say it this way. We have 4 pillars that we focus on as an agency. One is certifications. We help our businesses become certified. If you're women-owned, if you're a veteran, if you're a minority, if you're socially and economically disadvantaged in any way, we have certifications for you. Second pillar, access to contracts and procurement opportunities to grow your business. And that includes the public, private, and nonprofit sectors, government included. And then third, we do bonding and loans. We have access to loans, hence the nature of this workshop opportunity for you is to give you an access to the various forms of capital that are there in the market for you. And especially during this time, it is more critical that we provide a gateway for you to have access to these resources and to understand what they are. And then with our team of business advisors, that's our 4th pillar, as I started with. My team, we have a combined 60-year commercial banking experience. We were all commercial finance bankers. We work with businesses on the commercial side at banks, helping them to be successful. And so here, we are here on the other side pursuing our mission. I tease oftenly and I call ourselves reformed bankers because we are here to serve our market, to ensure that our businesses have access to the same intellectual capital that we have to serve the wider market with. As I stated, we are located at the Urban League of Greater Cleveland, and inside the Urban League of Greater Cleveland, we have the pleasure of housing an entrepreneurship center, where we also have a small business development center with my partner who is down the hall from me. She's down the virtual hall today, Shoshana Duckworth. She is the director of our Small Business Development Center, and you will hear from her today as she works with our Small Business Administration. So she will be in partnership with them on this presentation today. Just a few housekeeping items. Please be cognizant of keeping your phone on mute. Please take notes, have access to pen and paper. We will be providing resource information, contact information. For those of you who did receive my email last night, if you have questions throughout this presentation, you are welcome to put them in the chat box. However, we can't guarantee we're going to get to all of them. But if we do not get to them in the chat box, or if you're on the phone and you have questions, we will provide an email address where you can email your questions, and we will triage those to the respective presenters. In addition, please feel free to respond to the email I sent out last night to my email address, and I will also get those questions out to the appropriate parties. Last thing, the workshop is being recorded to be shared later on. And I think I just want to share with you what our agenda looks like. For those who can see the screen, first up, we're going to have the City of Cleveland. Kevin Schmotzer. Then we're going to have the Small Business Administration and our Small Business Development Center at the Urban League of Greater Cleveland. Shoshana Duckworth, as I mentioned, is our director. And then the Small Business Administration, our dear friend Ray Graves. Then we'll have Dora Rankin from Honeycomb Credit. We'll have Jasmine Dixon to talk about the Kiva Loan Program. Then we'll have the Hebrew Free Loan Association with Katie Pierce. And then Village Capital with Arnold Lockett, and my colleague at the state of Ohio who helps us get our deals done, Alan McConnell, State of Ohio Minority Business Development Division. I am now going to turn this presentation over to our first presenter, Kevin Schmotzer. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. How's everybody doing today? These are difficult times that have changed all of our lives over the last few weeks with what has transpired not only locally, but nationally, but globally with the pandemic that we are all dealing with. City of Cleveland, first of all, we want to thank Renee and her team for putting this on, for, this presentation, their idea for all of you to help educate and give you some ideas on how to help get some financing during these tough times. So a few things that I just want to quickly put on the screen. If Renee, if you can put the small business resources on there to talk about that. You know, over the years, we worked very hard with our financial partners that are on this phone call to really make Cleveland a robust small business ecosystem. And a lot of the technical assistance and the financial assistance with our banks and our partners that I have listed here on this business resource list and this financial technical resource list have been able to help and make our respective businesses from startups to grow and expand here in the city. But now with what is upon us, we want to make sure that we could immediately help keep these businesses that have grown. So here's a list of many of our programs and technical assistance. If people need a copy of this, you can also go to our website to access it, or you'll also see through the Urban League. This list is a link also to our website, but it's www.rethinkcleveland.org. On that is the website. But so you can click on that for that. But mostly what I want to talk about, though, is what we are doing to revise some of our existing programs and looking to create, because I realize many of the businesses, they are looking for creative capital to help pay the bills, because many businesses, their operations are closed or predominantly closed and have lost their customers. So one of the things I want to talk about, what we have done that we did pretty rapidly, is with all this transpiring, we have quite a few loans that we have assisted with our respective businesses, restaurants, cafes, breweries, service businesses that we have helped over the years. And we got calls right away that they could not afford, because they were closed down or predominantly closed down through their operations. They could not afford to continue to pay on their loans. So what we did, though, with in the city is with the support of the mayor, Director David Eversole, my colleague Robin Brown, our mayor Frank Jackson, and Cleveland City Council, we immediately wrote legislation, ordinance 341-2020, which was introduced and passed under suspension this Monday night, that deferred much of our loans through the city of Cleveland for 6 months to help give a sigh of relief for our respective small businesses that we have financed. So that has since passed, and we are in the process of notifying businesses through letters. I picked up the phone over the past couple of days and personally called many of the businesses. Several of you may be on this phone call as we speak to let you know that we have deferred our loans through the city of Cleveland. The second thing that we're also looking at doing there is we have a partnership agreement with the Urban League, the SBA, and the county on our SBA Muni program, which is listed here under this resource guide. And we are looking to revise this slightly to put recoverable, we have recoverable grants on it, but to include working capital as part of this. We will have to work with the county and make sure there's some work that we need to do to quickly amend this program to make sure that we can do this. ECDI is also a partner in this, but to help businesses that if they go through ECDI or go through their bank and they're getting an SBA guarantee, to help with working capital loans that could pay for rent, payroll, those kind of expenses, to help get through this difficult time. So I will keep you updated on where that stands with amending that, or making sure that we amend the policy associated with that program. And then if there's businesses out there that want to apply, then we can also work with you on that existing program. So we're not creating a wheel on anything. We're just amending and dotting our I's and crossing our T's on an existing program and slightly revising it. The other option that we're also doing with many of the tools that are in the toolbox that you're going to hear before you with my colleagues here with their respective financing is we are also looking at doing working capital loans, standalone for Cleveland-based businesses, for our small businesses, our female-owned businesses, our minority-owned businesses, our LGBT-owned businesses there in the city of Cleveland, to also provide another tool for working capital loans. We're working on that right now. We want to quickly get that approved and passed, and I will also keep everybody in response on the appropriating funds that we're going to put together on that and how that program will be rolled out. But I will keep everybody updated on that. So those are the things that we are doing there at the City of Cleveland, with what we've already done and what we are in process and what we are looking to move forward on doing quickly, and the key word being quickly, to help our respective small businesses get through this very difficult period. It's important. We work so hard over the years with all of you to help get great restaurants, cafes, technology businesses, breweries, service-based businesses, neighborhood businesses, and we can't lose any of them. So it's important that we help with the right tools to help these businesses survive. I think those are some of the things that I have, but Renee, if there's some questions that you want to have anybody take at this time, I'm more than open for these during my time allotment. Renee, I don't know if you can hear me, but I cannot hear you.
Hi.
There you go.
I have a question. I wrote it to Renee. I'm Jerry Unger. I work with the Morgan Conservatory,
Hi,
Morgan
Jerry.
Making Conservatory and Educational Foundation. We're a nonprofit organization, and I wanted to know if nonprofit organizations are eligible for these loans as well.
You know what? Let me look and see what we can do also on that. Okay. Let me look and see how we're writing on that to help out. We have funded not-for-profits through our traditional loan products with some things that we have done, but let me look into this. So that's a good point, Jerry. Jerry, what is your last name again? I'm sorry.
Unger, U-N-G-E-R. I'm at the Morgan Conservatory. We're we make paper. We have printing
paper, right?
47th Street.
Yes, you're over in the Huff neighborhood, correct?
That's correct.
Yes, I've been to your place before.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Kevin, there's a question here. Are the working capital loans a different program from the EDA working capital loans?
The working capital loan that we are doing for this, yes, we are looking to do working capital loans up to 10,000 and kind of creating this pilot program for the businesses impacted by what's going on. The other working capital loan would still be available for equipment loan under the EDA. That will still be there for businesses, and including once we get through this, that they can apply for funding. That program has been greatly utilized for our breweries who have opened up that need expensive amounts of equipment. But this is specifically for working capital that we can quickly do and get out the door.
Another question, does this apply to small R&D companies that haven't reached market yet?
If this is something that they would need, I would think that we would definitely look into this. I don't think we have it exclusively listed for restaurants or cafes, but if they're impacted by this, that's the key thing. If they're impacted by this, I think that's what this pilot program would be. If it's something that with many technology companies, if they're not impacted by this, but they need some other capital, then we might utilize one of our traditional financing programs and or with some of our partners on this.
Mhm. Is this for Cleveland only?
Yes, the city of Cleveland is for Cleveland only based businesses.
So Lorraine County would not be a part of this. So that was the second question. So no.
That is correct.
What is the city of Cleveland's outlook on how much capital local businesses would need to weather the next 30 days?
That question, I think I'm going to bounce back to the businesses. I think they are going to have to determine what they need to get them through the next 30, 60, 90 days. I would, from what I'm hearing and following up, I would almost look in kind of a plan on what you need to get through 30, 60, and 90 days. And if you're looking for that, I would recommend that that's what these businesses do.
Okay. Someone named John says, thank you for the information. Which of these loans are less sensitive to the company's co-founder's credit score?
Here's the thing with credit score. Several of our traditional programs, like the Neighborhood Retail Assistance Program, I've been an advocate on being against a credit score to an extent. And here's the reason why. If I have somebody who got laid off or lost their job, even from like years ago, like from the Great Recession, you know, and they had a good score or they lost their job because of downsizing, and they decided, you know what, though, I've always had a dream to open up a business, and they put together a business plan, but maybe their credit score was dinged a little bit during a brief period of time, you know, that hurt their score. There's reasons for this. We look at that. So I wouldn't say that, you know, you just look at a credit score and it's a quick elimination. Sorry, I can't help you. You really look into these things and see what the reasons are for a credit score. Okay, and there's a story behind that. I mean, if somebody just clearly has a period where their credit score is 560 and they continuously haven't paid their student loans, they haven't paid their phone bill, they're always late, well, they're going to get a quick thank you, but, you know, work on this and then come back. But if scores have been dinged for various reasons, and there's legitimate reasons when we look at this, those are things that we can push through.
So here's a question that is kind of tied together. One is saying that they do business in Cleveland, but the business is based in Lorraine. And the other one is saying our business is located in Cleveland Heights, but it sounds like they reach a broader market. Would this be included?
Cleveland Heights, I believe, has the SBA Muni program. Ray Graves could probably comment on them. I'm almost positive they have the SBA Muni program. And I think if we're amending this for what I spoke about earlier, maybe that might be something that they can also do that to help the business in Cleveland Heights, okay? But I can only help businesses that are located with a Cleveland address in the city of Cleveland, what we're doing. But again, we work with other communities, and I try to keep aware of some things, but I'm almost certain that Cleveland Heights has this SBA Muni program, and that would be something that they could maybe modify and reflect and work with the county on some of the things that we're looking at in the city of Cleveland to help that Cleveland Heights business.
And
but
that is true.
I can't promise that, but that would be up to the local community on that.
Well, yes, and there's folks that have answered that question who are familiar with those programs in the chat box that yes, those communities do have them.
Yes.
Question from Jessica. I believe the new federal stimulus bill includes additional CDBG funding for the city. Is there a plan in place to use some of the new CDBG funds for additional ED loans or grants, assuming the law is passed?
I would have to look at the federal regulations that come with that. I have not with that. I do know CDBG has some federal requirements you have to go through. So with that, we'd have to look through that, and maybe those things have been streamlined, but I haven't had a chance to get thoroughly briefed on that.
All right, and I'm just going to take 2 more questions, and then I'm going to ask everyone to email their questions. I'm going to give you the email address. Will the funding to apply for that specific to recent startup businesses? So will the funding support recent startup businesses that haven't made a profit?
The programs that are out there, I think if they're already in existence, these are businesses that are impacted. If businesses are looking to start up, I've got programs that could still help you, but I think these specific, including the SBA Muni. I mean, if you want to go the regular route on the SBA Muni program, going through that could be something that we could look at, or my financial partners with HFLA, Honeycomb, Kiva, all of that, ECDI. Those are things that we could look at also to help fund. But I think the other changes that we're doing to this program, including the pilot program that we're looking at for working capital, is specifically for existing businesses who can't pay their rent, can't get the funds for the inventory, are having issues paying with some employees that they have to keep them employed. That's what I think what we're looking at doing and get that passed.
Okay. Last question, Lisa. Will this help boutiques, and how will the application and the loan process work? How quickly can they gain access to funds? Because it seems that organizations aren't lending right now.
Well, here's my response to that. The approval that we did to defer the loans for our normal course on that, on getting administrative approval and drafting legislation, getting legislation introduced, getting it heard before committees at city council and then passed, that takes a little bit of time, not only in the city of Cleveland, but that takes time in almost any respective community. We did that slightly longer than the click of fingers to get that passed. And we're going to do our best to streamline things to make this efficient, knowing that businesses need the capital. I'm an advocate on as quickly as possible on getting this done, and to because of the current situation, we can't take the 60, 90 days normal, loan underwriting approval process that, the city, the county, the banks, ECDI, many of our other partners, many times what it usually takes. So I don't have an exact time, but I will tell you though, we have been pushing to make it as quickly as possible so we can get the cash to help our respective businesses so they can pay their bills.
Excellent, Kevin. I'm going to put your email address here in the chat box, as well as a general email box to the Minority Business Assistance Center as a backup. But Kevin, what is your email? I'm going to type it here in the chat box.
Sure. It's my first initial K, then my last name, SCHMOTZER @city.cleveland.oh.us.
Perfect. All right, there you go, folks. Kevin, did you have any final remarks before we move to the next presentation?
I just want to thank all the people on this phone call and all these businesses, and then just hang in there. We are all here, including all the other my colleagues that are on this presentation, here to help you. And you guys are important to our business. You're important to our economy. This is what has changed Cleveland's economy and Northeast Ohio over the years. You as the respective small businesses in our neighborhoods, in our cities, and we are here to help you and to quickly help you. So just hang in there, and we will help you.
Absolutely. We know it's tough. All right, so I'm going to share my screen again, folks. It's going to change here for a second. So follow along with me, and we will move to the next slide. And I believe we have up, we have the Small Business Administration and the Small Business Development Center at the Urban League. And I am going to lob this ball over to my colleague, who is my virtual partner down the hall right now. If we were at the Urban League of Greater Cleveland, she would be literally down the hall. She is the director of the Small Business Development Center at the Urban League, Shoshana Duckworth, and then she will then hand the ball over to Raymond Graves, who is the lead lender relations specialist for the Cleveland District Office for the U.S. Small Business Administration. Shoshana.
Well, thank you, Renee. Thank you. Hello, everyone. As Renee said, I am Shoshana Duckworth, Director of the Small Business Development Center at Urban League of Greater Cleveland. The Small Business Development Center has always had the mission to start, sustain, and grow small businesses throughout the entire county. Today, we are more committed to that mission than ever before. With that being said, we are assisting entrepreneurs in their sustainability efforts by hosting 2 webinars that will be held twice a week. The first one, which will be every Thursday at 7 p.m., is around the steps that entrepreneurs should take to sustain themselves during an economic. That one will be held every Thursday at 7 p.m. The next one that we will hold will be this Tuesday at 12 p.m. and then next Tuesday at 7 p.m. And that one is to assist entrepreneurs with better understanding the qualifications and application process for the disaster loan. With us being a partner to SBA, we are able to provide recent and up-to-date changes on the disaster loan. With that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Ray Graves and let him talk a little bit about the disaster loan.
Okay, great. Hopefully you can hear me as well. I'm going to try to share my screen so we can talk a little bit about the SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Program.
And Ray, you should also know there looks like there's a question ahead in the chat box for you too. So.
All right. Can you see the SBA logo on the screen? Is that working out for everybody?
We can
Okay.
see.
All right, perfect. Let's see if we can advance the slide here. All right. So again, I am Ray Graves with U.S. Small Business Administration Cleveland District Office. I've got just a few slides here to go over about the SBA's current response to the economic injury that's caused by the COVID crisis. We do expect that there are going to be a lot more tools, some really interesting tools coming down the line from Congress on this, but I really can't comment, from the bureaucracy's perspective about exactly what those things will be until, both the bill passes, it's signed into law, and then our agency gets a little bit of time to digest and figure out how we're going to implement the law. So some of the stuff that's coming out looks really, really interesting, but the product that we had that was sort of off the shelf that we can apply right away is this economic injury disaster loan. So the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, which I also call EIDL, is available now. It's available to the entire state of Ohio and to, I think, most other states as well. And what it is a working capital loan that's available to small businesses, small agricultural cooperatives, small aquacultural businesses, and most private not-for-profit organizations. They must be directly affected by the disaster and located in the disaster area. And everybody, of course, that's in the state of Ohio would be in the eligible disaster area, but must be directly affected by the disaster means that you can't apply for one of these loans if your business is was really doing badly in 2019, and this injury didn't affect you, and you're looking for a loan for working capital just because of what has happened in the past. It really is, are you affected by this disaster and how? And trying to replace those sorts of expenditures that the business should have been able to pay but can no longer pay because of this specific disaster. My next slide gives a little bit more detail on the disaster loan terms. These EIDL loans go up to $2 million. The rate would be 3.75% for businesses and 2.75% for not-for-profits. The term is 1 year of deferred payment followed by 30 years of amortization or term or what have you to repay the loan. So while the rate is decent, the real story here is that you got a year of deferred payment and then you get 30 years to pay off the rest. So it is a loan, but the actual payment is going to be very affordable because it's stretched out over such a long period of time. No prepayment penalty on this, so once you don't need it anymore and once you're back on the path to profitability, you should be able to pay it down pretty quickly if you want. But it is available to go out to 30 years. What can you use the loan funds for? Well, the intention here is to use it for, again, expenditures or expenses that a business would have been able to pay but for this crisis. So it could be fixed debt payments, it could be payroll, it could be accounts payable, utilities, insurance, all kinds of things that a business is going to have to pay even now that the business isn't operation, but just to remain viable, to make sure that you're paying your landlord, that kind of thing. So rent, debt payments, payroll, anything like that. You can't use it for dividend payments, disbursements to owners, repayment of stockholder loans, except short-term loans that a stockholder might have made to keep the business afloat as a result of the disaster. You can't use it for facility expansion. You can't use it for refinance of long-term debt. Again, you can use it to pay long-term debt installment payments for the time horizon that we're looking at, whatever that may be, but you're not going to use it for refinance of a debt. It's not for physical damage. It's not for payments of federal debts. Federal debts, like an existing SBA loan, should be deferred rather than using one of these idle loans to pay it. So again, it is a working capital loan, but very unusually has up to 30 years to pay back. Collateral requirements on idle loans. The first point to make is the last bullet point, which is the lack of collateral is not a reason for decline. On deals that are over $25,000, we're going to take what we can get as collateral, but with real estate being preferred. But if you don't have collateral, it's not going to be a reason why you're declined. On loans under $25,000, a personal guarantee is going to be required, but no collateral. So those should be a little quicker to close and to fund. Your basic filing requirements are going to include an application, which is the Form 5 for most businesses, or 5C for a sole proprietorship. There's a 4506 transcript request that'll have to be uploaded, your most recent business federal income tax return, schedule of liabilities, personal financial statement, and a monthly sales tracking form. Shoshana and the other small business development centers are aware of these forms. They're familiar with them, or they're getting familiar with them right now. And if you have questions about sort of how to fill things out, I would definitely work with Shoshana to do that. Additional filing requirements that you may be asked to upload for our disaster assistance folks would be your personal tax returns, your year-end financial statements. For example, if you don't have a 2019 business tax return yet because it's March, you're going to have to upload what you do have. If your fiscal year ended, say, last September or something like that, you probably would be asked for a current interim profit and loss statement as well. Ineligible entities include farms, religious organizations, gambling concerns, casinos, speculative entities, SBA loan packagers, lobbyists, real estate developers, and folks who have credit available elsewhere as defined by SBA. But I don't want people to get all twisted around on that credit elsewhere bullet point. It's the last thing. I've been asked questions like, hey, I've got a line of credit, does this make me ineligible for an idle, loan? No. If you've been adversely affected by this disaster and you're concerned about making ends meet, you should apply for one of these loans. All right, how do you apply? You apply through disasterloan.sba.gov. Again, disasterloan.sba.gov. It's an online portal. It was down yesterday as we amended our process to make it more expeditious to file. But if you go on there now, it should be pretty simple. You download the forms you need, you sign them, you fill them out, and then you upload it into a sort of a Dropbox-like scenario. If you don't have a computer handy, or if you can't get on there, there is a method to mail the forms to this address in Fort Worth, Texas, at 14925 Kingsport Road. But I wouldn't advise it. I would advise trying to use the online process to make it as expeditious as possible. The SBA has a customer service center for these idle loans, which is 800-659-2955. Again, that SBA customer service center for idle is 800-659-2955, or you can email the disaster customer service at sba.gov. Biggest cause of delay, I think, is when folks don't fill out the application completely. I understand that when folks are looking at the applications, in some ways you'll see that the forms are aligned towards a physical disaster, because Typically, we've been aligned to physical disasters. Usually something will happen like a tornado or a hurricane or something. And that's why, the forms sort of anticipate that. This is a little bit of an unprecedented occurrence where we've got state after state declaring economic injury emergencies. So the Form 5 and the Form 5C are right, even when they're asking about physical disaster stuff, just ignore that and go ahead and apply. This is what the screen looks like when you're applying, disasterloan.sba.gov. You're going to want to click the blue button in the middle, which is to apply. Everybody in Ohio is eligible, so you should be able to apply there. This is what the screen should be looking like as you apply. Again, you can see you're downloading forms and you're uploading it into that drag and drop file box down there at the bottom. I would expect a 30-day turnaround time on these. Again, it's unprecedented, the level of requests that we're getting. So we'll see if we can get that processing time down below that. But I think a realistic time frame to be thinking about right now is 30 days. Here's some frequently asked questions. Are startups eligible? Yes. How much should I ask for? Well, it's going to be an award based on your needs. As you go through the applications, there isn't even a box to request a certain amount. Think of it more as an analog to like a credit card request where you're putting in the request and you're going to see what the award is. SBA is going to look at the financial information you provide and make an award based on your historical profit, gross profit, and so on. What if I don't have enough collateral? Well, collateral is not a reason for decline. We'll take the collateral we can get. What do I need to do with my bank? Nothing. This is a direct loan program from the government. This is not your traditional SBA loan that goes through a bank and is guaranteed. However, you should be in contact with your bank. If you've got existing liabilities, you should be in contact with them about asking for deferments, especially if it's an SBA debt. How much does it cost? No fees. But if there's filing of collateral, there may be some filing documentary fees associated with that. Is there a prepayment penalty? No. I have a line of credit available. Is that credit elsewhere? And therefore, am I eligible? Yes. Even if you have a line of credit available, you haven't used it yet, if you've been adversely affected by this crisis, you're concerned about making your ability to pay, making ends meet, you should apply. My contact information is there. It's at the top. My direct line is 216-522-4192. Again, 216-522-4192. I'm Raymond Graves, raymond.graves@sba.gov, but we've got lots of other folks at our office who can answer questions as well.
All right, Ray, you've got a lot of questions.
Imagine that.
Yeah, so let me go back to the top of this. The first one, right when you began, any idea the federal loans that the Senate passed, do we have any idea when the federal loans that the Senate passed will be distributed? These loans are supposed to be designed for overhead to keep employees at work versus laying them off.
No, I don't have any information on that.
Okay.
Renee, I just want to comment on that question also. So,
yes.
Of course, we don't have any information on that because it has not been passed yet and it could change. But one thing I want all of the entrepreneurs to keep in mind is that when they apply for this loan, so I know that there's been some questions around, okay, well, the other loan program that's coming out, it said that we can't do both. We only can do one or the other. If that is the case, when if a new loan program is rolled out, keep in mind that when you go through this application process, you're not obligated to take the loan. So you can go through the complete process and then things may change within your business. Maybe a different program may come out from SBA, but you're not obligated to take those funds.
Okay. The other question here is, does interest accrue during the deferment?
Yes.
Okay. What about the Form P019? That is listed online as being a requirement for filing this application, and that appears that we need compensation from another source too.
No. You don't need compensation from another source. It's possible that if you're compensated from another source, that your award would be lower. If you had some kind of business interruption for insurance, for example, that paid you and is paying you for rent, I don't know, whatever it could be, then you don't need that from the SBA as well. Your award should be tied to your ongoing obligations that you can't pay, not things that you've already figured out how to pay.
Okay. How do we document no liabilities or obligation to file due to first year of operation?
You should file the SBA Form 5. Instead of filing a tax return, you should upload the financial information that you do have.
Okay. Ray, how is the SBA addressing the issues of the website being overwhelmed and crashing? Also, what is the expected turnaround for those applications that are being submitted?
We took down the whole online system and replaced it with a more expeditious one yesterday. The new one was up this morning, and it seems to be much quicker to use.
What is the response turnaround and expectation for this program?
We're telling people 30 days. And again, I think no one should expect the federal government's portal in this instance to be without challenges. It's the level of request that we've got is been incredible, and there's going to be some hiccups with it. But right now, the information that we have is we're going to say a 30-day turnaround time is what we're expecting.
Okay. How much does the SBA help to ascertain of the 2 million a company may be eligible for?
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. How much, or how does the SBA ascertain how much of the 2 million a company may be eligible for?
The information that I have is going to be based on the needs of the company over a particular time horizon. And it may be a function of gross profit or something of that nature. I don't have those formulas at my fingertips because I don't work at the Disaster Assistance Center. But you'll notice as you go through the application that they're not spending a ton of time asking about company expenses. They kind of take financial information and they figure out an award based on past financial performance.
Okay. Any concerns with lending to a radio station, a for-profit radio station, being able to qualify for this program?
No.
Okay. We are a young tech company business that has started getting some very limited revenue prior to COVID-19, but COVID-19 has affected us primarily by causing us not to be able to get more revenue, since no one wants to make new purchases now and investment opportunities have turned dry due to the uncertainty. Are we eligible for this program?
You should apply.
Okay. What are the credit requirements?
Ability to repay is a thing. I know that we're looking at personal credit reports on these, but I don't have any particular low credit score threshold. I think it's pretty generous. I think that we're just looking to make sure that we're not funding a business that wouldn't have had the ability to repay these obligations anyway.
Who is the applicant, the business entity or the owner?
The business applicant.
Okay. What if I own two related businesses? Which a business applies?
The larger business? Probably, you might actually apply for both. If you have two businesses that aren't in the same sector, that do completely different things, and both of them have ongoing obligations that you no longer have the ability to pay because of this crisis, then I might apply separately for each one and reference in my discussion with the loan officer or through uploading a side document that these are two applications that are for the same borrower or the same individual. If the two, let's say you have two restaurants, and they're happen to be under different TIN numbers, I would apply as one for that because it's really the same kind of business.
Okay. Two questions in one. Will this loan be reported to the credit bureau? And if I am denied, will it be reported to my personal credit bureau?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. If my last filing 2018 reflects a sole proprietor, but I have since become a partnership LLC, do I use the 5 form or 5C?
Are you a single member LLC?
A partnership LLC.
Partnership LLC.
Not a single.
Well, Yeah, if you're a partnership LLC, then I would use Form 5. If you're, and I'll just expand on that briefly, although I'm probably taking up too much time already, but if you're a single member LLC and you file your business taxes or your business revenue and expenses under your own social security number, I would use the 5C, which is the sole proprietorship form. If I was an LLC that had a different TIN number, I would use the Form 5.
Okay. Well, we have to re-register with the new site now that it's up.
Did you complete the application with the old site? I don't know.
That's
I would, if you didn't complete the if you did complete the application with the old site, then I would go ahead and wait for that process to play out. If you were not able to finish your application on the old site, I am tentatively going to recommend that you just go back in and apply a second time with this new site. Just upload the documentation. Hopefully you printed out your old application and you could just drop that stuff into the new box.com website thing.
Does the automated system pull your return from the IRS database automatically?
No, you have to upload your tax return. You have to upload a 4506T transcript request, and we'll, on our side, we'll verify that your tax returns were the same ones that were filed with the IRS.
What if my business is newly launched and I've never filed for taxes? Am I eligible?
You're eligible. You might have a tougher time justifying that you would have had the ability to pay these obligations but for the COVID crisis. But if you're a restaurant or something, or an athletic facility or something like that, you should have a pretty good case that it was the COVID crisis that affected it. It's just going to have to be a conversation you're going to have with your loan officer to show what happened. Like, even if you could say something like, we had $5,000 of revenue per week until last week, I think that would be a convincing case to make. It's just a tougher case for you.
Okay, so I have 2 more questions, and then I'm going to ask you, Ray and Shoshana, to provide your information once again so that folks can contact you. And I will also put an email in the chat box for everyone to email follow-up questions, in particular for this product to Shoshana. Because the SBDC Center is there to be your hands-on support to work directly with Ray's group to get the loans done. What is the deadline to file by? Is there a deadline?
Yeah, I'm not aware of a deadline right now. You should apply as soon as possible.
Yes, absolutely. If
There's
your credit
probably,
score,
yeah, go ahead.
no, go on, Ray.
There might be in the original declaration notice, there might be some verbiage about how long this disaster is supposed to last, but I don't have it memorized.
Okay. If your credit score was high, but you borrowed money off credit cards to keep your business running and your score went down, is it possible that it'll be turned down?
Well, you shouldn't be on something like that. Even the SOP that this program operates under specifically contemplates that very scenario, that if someone's credit score is hammered because of this crisis, we're supposed to use a score from a prior period. So I would be prepared to provide evidence that your credit score was adversely affected within the last month or something by this. But that's something that we're contemplating. So if you get a summary turn down, is what they're calling it, for credit score, you let me know, or you let Shoshana know, and we'll see if we can chase that up the ladder a little bit.
Okay. And Ray, give me your email address. I'm going to put it here in the chat box.
Raymond.graves@sba.gov.
Raymond.graves@sba.gov. And also, folks, within that chat box is Shoshana Duckworth's email address from our Small Business Development Center down the hall. She will work directly with our clients in the Entrepreneurship Center that need access to this loan program. Her center is partly funded by the SBA, so this is one of their primary products. So if you need assistance completing the application and getting it done, you've got questions and you don't know where to go, the Small Business Development Center right there at the Urban League of Greater Cleveland is a direct resource for you. Okay?
I just want to add in and say, if you all still have additional questions, please email us at ohiosbdc.org to register for the webinar that is this Tuesday, March 31st at 12 p.m. Ray Graves will be on that webinar as well to answer additional questions. And then there will be another one on April 7th at 7 p.m. And it will walk through the application process.
That sounds like a perfect workshop. Okay. All right. Any closing remarks, Ray, before we move to Dora?